are the urban, metropolitan, the European, like Shangri-La. The Central Valley is a bunch of hayseeds. All of us here are a bunch of hicks. LA, the LA basin in Southern California is basically looked at probably the worst example in land use, urban sprawl, self-centered because of the entertainment publicity that you get. And so we all have little different slots that we fit in. And who comes out on top on a public perception? It's the Bay Area. Well, who's keeping the water from us, keeping it from the Central Valley and keeping it from the Los Angeles, the Southern California? It's the Bay Area. It's Nancy Pelosi, George Miller, Dianne Feinstein, and Barbara Boxer. So I want to ask, how come your representatives in Congress and in the state support this legislation or compromise this legislation to these individuals who would rather see us all go away? So voting in this June is extremely important, and you have to look all the way to your local levels. We have a water bond that was mentioned earlier. We've been asked as the Board of Supervisors in Tulare County to endorse that water bond. And you'll see an endorsement list that's probably got a whole bunch of people, several hundred agencies on it. The Board of Supervisors in Tulare County have decided not to support the bond measure at this point in time. There are a lot of hidden issues in that bond that are just starting to come out. Like was mentioned, the dams on the Klamath River being removed. What I learned and what we had was a San Joaquin River settlement that us farmers that take water from the Kern Frank Canal, we just rewatered the San Joaquin River by, they took 25% of our water this year, and it's starting to go down the river. That is until 2025. In 2025, they can come back for it all, because that's how the law was written. But what I learned is that I was back in Washington, D.C. many times lobbying for a mitigation of that loss of water. And I had a lot of the water districts that were dependent upon that water, my neighbors and some other people, who really weren't very happy with me lobbying for a change in that law. All I was asking for, representing fellow farmers, and I had a great deal of help from my Congressman, Devin Nunes, was, okay, you can take the water, but mitigate it. Bring it back to us somehow, mitigate it. So we finally got Dianne Feinstein to change the settlement to a degree that allowed mitigation. But this is, I want to tie the two together, the San Joaquin River settlement and the water bond. She put it in the legislation that they would have some projects to mitigate this loss of water, but when it came down after they passed the law to fund it, there's no money. So it's a clause in a law that doesn't mean anything. If we pass $11.2 billion bond, I guarantee you every municipal, every county is going to have their knees worn out in Sacramento trying to get a piece of that money. And guess who controls the legislature in Sacramento? We're not going to see probably one drop of water for Southern California or any California. It'll probably go a lot for environmental. Most of it will go for environmental, and most of it will never be funded. Environmental mitigation for the bond that we passed to fix the levees, because the levees are the linchpin of all our water delivery system. The environmental cost to upgrade those levees exactly where they are is 50 cents on the dollar. That's how much the ESA has impacted us. That's how much the environmental laws have never negatively impacted us. The one thing I learned serving as a supervisor is that as a private citizen, I thought we were constrained and it cost us a lot of money to deal with the government. But the government has strangled itself worse than they have the private citizen. We frankly probably have enough money in the budget of the state of California and the United States government if we got rid of all the regulations that we have to live under, which make no sense. If you're going to widen a road, you're going to widen the road. You need to widen the road. So, in closing here, because Marcia's standing up, the people at this panel have a wealth of knowledge, and we only have a certain amount of time to express ourselves in front of this microphone. And I know the people on this panel will give you a straight answer. It may not be the answer that you may want to hear, but they'll answer your questions. So please take the time to ask us questions. The panel is very knowledgeable. Where some of us don't have that knowledge in certain areas, there'll be another one of us that do. So thank you very much, and it's a pleasure to be here.
I know it's a long time. I see some of you getting up, and maybe you're just going out to, take a break. But we're almost done. We have our last speaker. Then we're going to take a break, and we'll come back for question and answer. And I want to introduce Russell Waymeyer. He's been on my program several times. I do talk radio on CRN Digital Talk, and he's very, very knowledgeable about water. I mean, I had no idea. A lot of the presenters have enlightened you a lot about the garbage that goes into the water, the pollution, the diversion into the ocean of, acres, millions of acres of feet of water. Russell is going to talk to us a little bit. He's going to take you deeper into understanding water quality issues and the selective enforcement of the ESA. And other water quality laws. He's co-chaired the local Farm Bureau Water Committee in Kings County. He used to be a farmer. He got out of that as a result of, the hardship, and is making his living now in real estate. But he's still working with the farmers, fighting this battle. So please welcome Russell Waymeyer.
Well, thank you, Martha. And I want to thank everybody here, Don Wagner and Linda Barnes, and you folks for showing up. I feel most relaxed before I get serious. This won't get deducted from my time. I like to tell a joke with friends, and then we'll both feel better. If you want to stand up, you can while I tell you this, okay? This highway patrolman is out guarding the freeway, and he sees this car speeding past. Takes him several miles to catch up to him, pulls him over. He's upset because it took several miles. The guy gets out of the car and he comes back to him and says, "Officer, I apologize, I'm sorry, but I got an explanation. You got to hear me out, please." Highway patrolman says, "Look, I've heard it all, but have at it, I'm all ears." And he says, "Officer, look, do you see my car? You see I got two women in there, one in the front seat, one in the back?" And he goes, "Yeah, I see that all the time." He says, "Well, in the front seat's my wife, and the back's my mother-in-law. 6 months ago, she flew out here, was going to stay with us for 2 weeks. They had a falling out today